Well, hello there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another session of the Creator's Checkup. The Creator's Checkup is here where we help you to become the creator that you were created to be by applying timeless spiritual principles to temporary creative problems. It is a pre-Valentine's, what do you call? I guess not pre-Valentine's, it's Valentine's Eve, I guess you could say. Maybe that's a better way to say it. I'm not sure. But either way, this is Friday and also the Friday the 13th, which kind of a fun story. Friday the 13th was it was a Friday the 13th that my wife and I were married. It was in December, but we tend to call this a lucky day versus an unlucky day if you believe in that sort of thing. So anyway, hope you're having a great day. We're going to get right into a lot of our discussions today. Let me go ahead and jump in. Look like, yeah, I just realized I'm a little bit dark because my lights are off. That's something important to remember so that whenever you go live, you keep everything together. And this is something I always go through in my lives, trying to remember all the little things. And live streaming is live. So you have to do it, figure it out. If it's not right, you figure it out while everybody's watching you. And so that's what I've gotten kind of used to in a sense. And it's made me a better podcaster because you have to just figure things out. You can't stop the tape and suddenly try to get things back to working. And I'm literally loading my presentation at the same time. So as you see, there's a lot going on. But what I want to make sure is that you feel like you're in the right place at the right time. So if you're new to this specific creator checkup format, what we do is we go live on Fridays on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And today I'm trying out, as you can see me looking up at my screen, I'm trying out TikTok again. TikTok and I have kind of like a love-hate relationship. I go back and forth whether or not TikTok is something that's helpful, but I have seen before when those of you on TikTok jump over to YouTube and say, "Hey, I saw you on TikTok. I couldn't stay on TikTok, but I jumped over to YouTube." So I said, "You know what? That's worth at least letting people know about." And since we are also talking about Bad Bunny today, trust me, when I get into this, you'll see why I really didn't want to talk about this, but everybody else is. And it's kind of like the discussion that won't go away. So I was like, yeah, we're going to have to talk about this. We already wrote about it in my creator checkup, which is our newsletter that goes out on Thursday. And then we'll take clips of this specific live stream and we'll use it for our podcast on Tuesday. So whether you are viewing, whether you are reading, or whether you are watching, everybody will have a chance to weigh in on this. And I said, yep, I'm going to have to continue the conversation here on our live stream. So if you are watching for the first time, welcome. We don't always talk about current events. We talk about all kinds of things. So this will not be the only topic of conversation, but it is something that maybe will interest some of our TikTok viewers. Maybe you guys know about this more than I do, and your comments will help us. By the way, if you're watching this on replay, remember, you can always comment, and I will read the comments later. Those who are watching live, I can pop up their comments on screen. So that makes it a lot easier for us to interact, and you can see what's going on with people who are sharing even during the live stream. So that is always a cool thing that I get to do with the Riverside that I'm using the stream. And yeah, just makes this a more interactive conversation. So your comments are welcome, even if you're watching on replay. I will come back and I'll make sure to respond to what you share there. So thank you so much for joining us on replay. Once again, our TikTok friends, feel free to jump over to YouTube if you catch us there. And you don't want to watch on YouTube and you want to see my screen and all the screen shares and stuff and participate, the best way to go is to go to our YouTube page. I believe the link is in our bio. I'm not sure. It might still be in our bio. So we'll see if you guys want to come and join us over here. But let's get right into our conversation, which means I do need to share my screen. Just pulled up the presentation. Let's see. Let's go to a window. There we go. All right. So let's see if that shows up for you guys. Yeah, all you can see it. Hopefully, okay. And let's start with our agenda, our news and notes. We're going to start with a bootstrap workshop recap. This was super cool that happened on Tuesday. LaShonda and the Bootstrap fam were so gracious to let me teach on podcast monetization. I want to tell you a little about that. Then we'll get into what's going on the podcast. And then a little fun segment that I thought about doing. I've done this before, but I haven't done it in a while. We got to shout out our 360 creators. I want to talk about what one of them is doing that's super cool so you can go support the members of our community. Then we're going to get into our vital signs. That's where we talk about one vital issue that's affecting all creators. And right now, like I said, seems like all the conversation is about Bad Bunny and the halftime show. So we're going to get into that. Then we'll get into our lab work. And I shared this on the inside the membership as well about podcasts that I would recommend. I've been on a ton of them recently, some amazing podcasts, some amazing hosts. And I realized I don't oftentimes share these podcasts when I'm not on them. And I don't want people to just think, oh, just watch my podcast and only watch these podcasts, excuse me, only watch these podcasts or listen to these podcasts when I'm on them. That's kind of, that's really selfish. I want you to be connected to great podcast hosts for creators anytime. So we're going to show you some of those. We're going to talk about them, and I would love your recommendations as well. Then we're going to talk about the consult. This is going to be a fun commentary that we had also inside the membership about what a creator's Valentine would be. So as we're on the heels of Valentine's Day or right before Valentine's Day, I thought it might be fun to say, hey, what would you write as a Valentine to all creators? Maybe you're special, someone as a creator, but more in terms of any creator, what would a Valentine for them look like? What do we need to say to make them feel special and loved? Hopefully, this is kind of like a Valentine to you guys from me. So hopefully that doesn't get weird. Then we'll talk about our prescriptions. Our prescription is always pretty much the same, but sometimes it changes depending on what's coming up in our calendar, but the prescription is what we recommend you do next. Once again, if you're joining me on TikTok, feel free to jump into YouTube because over on YouTube, that is where you can see my screen. This is kind of like a look in on what we're sharing. So you guys get like a behind the scenes look, but you don't get a chance to see the screen. So you can always jump over godandgigs.com/YouTube and you can find us over there. I think that's Big Cube over there. What's up, man? Good to see you. Awesome. See, this is why it was good to go live on TikTok, just to make sure some of our friends can find us. Whoop, let's go back one. So, a recap from Tuesday. This was super awesome. Thank you, LaShonda, who has been the Bootstrap Biz Advice founder and CEO and mentor for God and Gigs for years now. An incredible friend, but she gave me the opportunity to teach the monthly creative workshop that she does for her members. And we talked about podcast monetization, something I didn't constantly actually feel so confident about at first because I have done it, but sometimes I get in my own head and I think, oh, well, people need to know how to make $1 million, and that's my fault. Like I was doing the whole imposter syndrome thing. She's like, stop talking about it, go do it. And I did, and it was fun and it was amazing. And we shared a lot of information. And if you want to still see it, you can still see it. Now, I did ask LaShonda to send me some clips of it, but the best way for you to see it would be to join her membership. Simply go to Bootstrap Biz Advice on YouTube and you join her membership for only $10 a month. It's basically the same kind of tier that we have, and you can view that workshop. And as you can see, there were a lot of beautiful things that people said about it. So thank you, LaShonda, for the opportunity to share with the Bootstrap Biz Advice. I'm a member, very proud member. I will never, ever, ever say, oh, you should only be a part of one community. You should be part of several communities, all of which speak into different areas of your creative life. For me, Bootstrap speaks into the entrepreneurship, how to build a business, how to stay relevant, how to be a creator who doesn't get stuck in the weeds of just making stuff and not having kind of like a purpose, a profit, a plan and a process behind what I'm doing. So Bootstrap Biz Advice fits all those things for me. And she's one of the reasons why I'm even doing this live stream because she encouraged me to get back into it so I could grow my YouTube channel. That's exactly what happened. So thank you so much, LaShonda, for giving us the opportunity to share. That was super awesome. What's new on the podcast? This is our latest episode. I want to tell you this amazing cognitive behavioral therapist, Dr. Laurette Willis, really, really blew my mind when she talked about her experience in the New Age movement. Now, she is now a behavior therapist, as I mentioned. She works with people on Christian weight loss, losing weight without going into the dieting yo yo situation, working with trauma and past hurts, living with freedom from those hurts and traumas. But her conversation, honestly, she started as a musician, as a singer and actor, and this is where she got her start in communicating. But then a twist and turn took her into a really deep, dark, kind of 20-year, I don't know if we would call it a battle, but basically an experience with the New Age movement. Which, if you hear her talk about this, it is pretty crazy. It sounds pretty crazy, except she lived it. And so, if you want to learn how to get past your past, how to get through traumas, and how to apply the lessons of creativity to renewing your mind so that you can win the war in your mind and become that fulfilled creator that's really grounded in your faith in Christ. And that's something that appeals to you, please go to godandgeeks.com/373. Godandgeeks.com/373. I'll make sure to put that in the links as well so that you guys can find that later on. All right. As I mentioned, we want to give a shout out to our creators at God and Gigs 360 community. They have been on fire. February has been so much fun. I've been seeing so many posts of people doing different things, and I want to spotlight one of them. So we'll see if I can switch the screen. Give me a second. I just realized I'll have to open this to show you his post so you guys get a little quick look inside 360. Let's see. So I'll have to stop share and restart or share something else. There we go. I'm learning how to switch around here on this specific thing. That was pretty cool. That was actually pretty easy. So let me show you our featured creator of the day, of the week. And there he is. I had to find this bubble. Manuel Rodriguez of the Worshiping Musician. Now, I really want to highlight him because if I could find his last post, he's a trumpeter. He's been so active inside the membership, sharing what he shares. There it is, Worshiping Musician School. And let's find his recent activity. It's down here somewhere. You can see why I've been, because he's been commenting and sharing. So I want to make sure that we highlighted him. Here he is, the minstrel blueprint cohort. So he is launching a 6-week paid online cohort for worship musicians who want to move from playing skillfully to ministering with authority. By the way, once again, friends on TikTok, if you want to jump over, you can see my screen on YouTube or LinkedIn. So this is why I want to highlight him, because he is out here doing amazing work, building his own brand, building his teaching school for worship musicians, and supporting other people who are posting inside the membership. So, Manuel, maybe you're not watching live, but you are the creator spotlight for today. Thank you so much for supporting God and Gigs and showing how this community helps each of us grow individually, because we connect with each other and then we see when somebody's doing something, we promote them, we share them, we tell people about it, and we help each other grow. So that is really, really a blessing and kind of example of what we talk about all the time inside our membership. So thank you for that. All right, let's jump back in to by the way, oh, let me make sure I don't forget. If you guys want to join us in God and Gigs 360, let's see here. Oh, that's the spotlight that we just did. So there's a fun little graphic for that. If you want to join us in God and Gigs 360, there's 2 levels. You can join us either at the creator resource level, which is access to all the workshops that I just mentioned, over 20 of them now inside our library, or you can join us for our Gold Mastermind program, which is kind of like live coaching. We do one at least once a month, and we will do one, I think, coming up on President's Day. We'll do one on Monday. So everybody will get to jump in and get help with their creative goals and really share the deep, kind of like intricate things that they have to figure out, as well as other live coaching perks. Everything inside 360 is part of the membership. So they very rarely have to pay anything extra for any kind of programs. Everything gets sent to them as a part of being a gold member. All right. So that's what you do to do that. All right. I think we are done with this much. Let's stop it for now. And let's go into our vital signs. And the vital signs, as I mentioned, this is a topic I didn't want to get into much, but let's just be honest, we're going to have to talk about it. So I'm going to go ahead and get the stinger ready, and we're going to get into our vital signs. As soon as I find it, wait, We're gonna have to open this up a little bit because I can't see anything. Here it is. All right, let's get ready for our battle signs, and we'll go into our discussion on Bad Bunny. All right, my friends, this is not a conversation that I wanted to have. And I don't mean that in a kind of, dismissive, this isn't worth my time. We shouldn't be talking about this. That is not what I mean at all. All I'm trying to say is it has been so much noise about this halftime show, so much conversation, so much discussion that I felt like I couldn't add anything else. Like what could I possibly add? We have heard everyone and everybody talking about the Bad Bunny halftime show. So I thought there was just nothing else to share until I saw an entire week later after the Super Bowl that it is still the number one trending topic, like on Google and I guess ChatGPT and other things like that. So we have to talk about it, even though I don't want to talk about it, because clearly it has taken over the culture when it comes to why people are so either on one side or the other side divided over a halftime show, which essentially was for a football game, which I honestly don't hear people talking about. Here's what's crazy about that, and it comes right into my comment on the one good thing about the Bad Bunny discussion. So before we start, let's talk about what I'm not going to talk about. I am not going to talk about the moral sensibilities or immoral sensibilities that Bad Bunny shared in his raps, in his songs. I'm not going to talk about the cultural Hispanic connection, the Puerto Rican connection, and whether people thought that was appropriate, that he only sang in Spanish. I did not, by the way, watch this performance. I had to work. Here's one of the funny things about this entire discussion was that I didn't get to watch the Super Bowl because I was gigging that day. So I found myself in the same way as lots of people outside of the discussion because I didn't know the songs. I didn't watch the performance. I didn't want to go back and watch the performance on YouTube like everybody else and try to catch up because it just felt like there was already so much noise about it that it didn't make any sense for me to play catch up. I said, okay, I'm just going to leave it alone and let everybody kind of have their own little moment to go over this because I really didn't feel like it made sense for me to jump in until, like I said, I saw how much this is not necessarily even about a one performance. There's so many areas that people are diving into when it comes to culture, morality, patriotism. So many areas that people are discussing that I said this actually is beyond now even the 15-minute halftime performance. And here's why this is the number one good thing that I would love for you guys to kind of see in this entire discussion. The one good thing about the Bad Bunny discussion is that it's a discussion about an artist and their impact, which is overshadowed, as I mentioned, the football game, all of the other things that go along with the commercials and everything else with the commercialism of the Super Bowl, which is basically kind of like a big American holiday for commercials and consumerism. The fact that a artist's performance can dominate our cultural conversation is proof that art and performance and the real actual performing of a song, right? This was not AI. This was not something that was invented for, clicks, although obviously it was clearly designed to get all the attention that it's getting. But the key of this is that it proves that art and presenting our music and presenting our movies and presenting our films and presenting our stuff to the world will get attention if we want it to. It will become something that becomes a topic of conversation that can dominate and actually change people's minds and keep them engaged beyond all the other information that's coming around the world, the bad news, good news, whatever. Again, this is about a musical performance. A musical performance is dominating the conversation. So the good thing that it proves is that art is still relevant to our culture, even when so many other things are going around us. When there's so much noise about politics and everything, I know politics is entering this conversation, but that's my point. It started with just an artist, and then it bloomed into all these other areas, but it proves that it starts with the art. The conversation started with the music, started with the person that's presenting something, and then it boiled over into all these other areas that people are talking about. Well, what does that say to you and me? It says, as faith focused creators, that we can continue to focus on the one thing, which is how am I creating art that moves people and gets people engaged and gets people talking? Because the goal is not just to get the popularity, the goal is the people care. And once people care, there is so much less worry about, oh, is it going to go live on TikTok? Or is it going to go viral? As long as people care about what your perspective is and how you present it, you have the ability to have a career. You have the ability to be relevant, to make an impact with the people who may either believe in you or don't believe in you, believe what you say, don't believe what you say. But it does create that space. There was plenty of discussions about all of the issues before the halftime show. Everything that people were talking about, whether it be classism or immigration or whatever, there was plenty of discussion around that before this halftime performance. But after it, the halftime show now becomes the focal point of all these other issues. So the art becomes the focal point, not necessarily the issue that people bring up around the art, around the performance, around what Bad Bunny presented. And that's my point. It means that at when you try to engage people in a certain area of faith, a certain topic, your art becomes the focal point of that discussion. And that way you can have an impact on people, even if it isn't a huge audience, because now what you are singing and playing and creating becomes the key point of what people are sharing versus all the other things that come along with it. Okay. Forgive me as I plug in my phone here because I realize the phone's going to die and we have a few people hanging out with us. So we're going to probably, well, I won't edit this out. All right. There we go. Hopefully we get some charge from there so that you guys, so nothing will die. Oh, it may still die on us because it's not plugged in. That's a problem. That's a problem. You see here, again, this is live and just not plugging in your stuff can be a big issue if your phone is about to die. So I will definitely try not to do that again where I have to. There we go. Now we're good. Okay. So rewind, restart. So my comment and my admission and okay, not admission, encouragement to you is to not get caught up in what did Bad Bunny say, who did this, and all the money that was obviously behind the performance, everything else that made supposedly this thing blow up, this huge audience. All of those things are true. This is probably not a discussion that you'd be having if this was your local theater troupe. It wouldn't be your discussion if it was just something that happened in the local the jam session. True. It got huge because of the stakes and because of the huge amount of publicity it got. But again, it does prove that the actual performance and the people talking about the performance proves that you can have the same kind of relevance to the people that you are trying to reach. It proves that art still has the ability to move the needle. It still has the ability to affect the way people think about the way they process. And so instead of looking at just one artist and whether he should have said this or shouldn't have said that or should have spoken English or should, let's remind ourselves, hey, in my community, I can have that same kind of impact, not to go viral, but to have the same kind of relevance. And if you are singing for God, if you're singing for whatever reason, performing, whatever it is, you got to have that mentality that I want people to care. I want people not to notice me in terms of wanting the popularity, but I want them to be impacted by how I share it. I want to make sure that the connection between me and my community is so strong that we are equally passionate. Now, you can be equally passionate against something, right? And there will be people that don't like what you do, but you have to be for something. You have to be for something and you have to allow people to be against it sometimes. So again, this entire discussion, I'm not going to go back and forth about Bad Bunny so much because I know many of you might just be as tired as I am of the conversation. So that's not my goal. My goal is not to beat up and say, "Hey, everybody should be watching this. I didn't watch it." But I do believe it is proof that we can still have an impact on culture in any area that you happen to be creating in. And if that's true, it's an encouragement. If it's true that I guess Bad Bunny was building his career for 10 years or whatever, and then it hits this moment, that moment can happen for you as well inside your sphere of influence. And it doesn't have to be on a Super Bowl stage, it could be anywhere. So, once again, hopefully this was encouraging. You didn't find yourself feeling like, oh my gosh, we're talking about the same situation again. I wanted to bring it from another perspective that will give you some encouragement to stick with your creative evolution, to stick with the growth, to stick with building the community that you're building, to stick with trying to make music that matters, art that matters, creating work that matters to you and to the people that you are trying to reach. Because the whole point is it is powerful, it is relevant, it is effective. When you speak from your heart, speak your truth, and share from the heart, art still has that ability to move an entire country, entire world in a certain direction because God gave you that ability inside to make an impact. So I hope that blessed you. I hope that gave you again some kind of inspiration. And again, if you guys want to go, talk more about the actual performance, feel free. That's not my that's not my wheelhouse. That's not what I'm going to be doing. Okay. Once again, friends who are joining us on TikTok, if you don't see my screen, we are in the Creator Checkup. This is where we share different ideas and topics from God and gigs in our community. So feel free to join us on YouTube if you want to see the screen, because we share a lot of your comments on the screen. So it'd be cool. YouTube or LinkedIn. I do believe the link is in our YouTube bio, or sorry, LinkedIn or TikTok bio. So many different bios. Geez. If not, just go to godandgigs.com/YouTube or go to YouTube and simply type in God and Gigs. All right. We're going to jump into our next segment, which is our lab work. All right. So this is going to be fun because I get to talk about some amazing podcasts that I have been a part of sometimes, but many of them I've never actually been a guest on. But if you're watching this now, I'm going to guess either you are familiar with podcasts or you found the God and Gig show or something like that, and you are willing to say, hey, you know what? I would be interested in other shows. Good to see. I believe that might be Larry Roberts who just joined us. Speaking of podcasting, what great timing. So let's see, that's a little bit better so you guys can see a little more. So this is what I'm really, 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 really interested to find out. First, I would love to see some comments if you are watching live or if you're watching later about your favorite podcast for creators specifically. Um, the thing is that I know as a podcaster myself, it is a very, very, very loyal medium when it comes to picking shows. So if you got your show that you listen to in the morning, I have a specific podcast related show that it's like every morning. It's about 5-10 minutes tops, but it's basically part of my routine. And now that I'm producing podcasts, obviously, I also have to listen to those podcasts to kind of, continue to make sure I'm listening as a listener, not just as a producer. So I listen to my own shows just to see how it sounds in the car, just to make sure that I'm not kind of losing people because in the editing, I get all stuck. But then there are podcasts I listen to just to listen. And these both can be creators that are creating other podcasts that I know, and they can be creators that I don't know. And I just find them interesting. And again, as a podcaster, I feel like I should be sharing some of my favorite podcasts. So I don't have any slides for these. I will try to pop up links as fast as I can, or what I'll do is later you can come back to this live stream and I will put the links for the specific shows into the comments so that you guys can come back and click on them and follow them. But of course, if you're watching or listening right now, you can just go ahead and kind of write them down and I can share them. I also shared all of these, by the way, inside the membership. So if you're in the Garden Gigs 360, it's pretty easy. All you got to do is just look for the most recent post. I did put it inside, just so you know, I put it inside the um what do you call that section? The YouTube and podcaster section. So if you're not a member of the YouTube and podcaster section, you might want to join that. It's free to join. Once you're a God Gigs 360 member, you can join any section you want. You can join any of the cohorts. You can join the YouTube and podcaster circle. You can join the musicians and vocalist circle. You can join the writer circle. You can join the visual arts circle. You can join the entrepreneur and business tips circle. There's all these little sections inside God and Gigs 360 for each one of our groups to find their people and to discuss things that are added that are applicable just to them. But I put this in the podcaster section. So I'll talk about it. But again, if you want to find each one of these links, if you're a member, easiest way just to go ahead and jump in there. So, first podcast I'm going to actually shout out is a podcast that I've been following for years, and it is called the Thriving Christian Artist Podcast. And so let me see if I can do some sharing. If I can find it, I'll show his actual page. Let's see here. I'm going to actually use this, but then I'm going to bump away and let's go to Thriving Christian Artists. And if you do not know about Matt Tommy, please look up Matt Tommy, because Matt Tommy is one of the most influential Christian artists and mentors that I know of. And so he has a podcast called the Thriving Artist Podcast. Now, I was blessed to be on this podcast, I would say back in 2023. He interviewed me, but he has interviewed pretty much anyone that you could think of inside the creative spaces and who has a love for God and also love for art. He does tend to focus on the visual arts, but he's also a worship leader. He's been a worship musician, so he also knows about that side. But it's super cool to see another artist who has basically just given his life to helping Christian artists to grow. So, the Thriving Christian Artist is the first one I got to recommend to all of you, because it's basically kind of like God and Gigs, but in a whole nother level, growing so big, finding so many people. So I am happy to recommend other podcasts. I don't want you to just come to my podcast. I want you to see other podcasts where they're doing amazing work. So the Thriving Christian Artist by Matt Tommy is a number one top recommendation, and maybe not the top recommendation, but definitely a high recommendation for you if you want to join that one. The next one I'm thinking about is a similar podcast, but has not been around as long, and I actually just recorded with this young lady. And once again, let me see if I can pull it up. Actually, you know what? I should probably pull it up inside 360. That would make sense. Let's go back to 360. Thank you guys for letting me. All right, let's see if we're still here. Sorry, you guys. Looks like I survived the great Clickopolis, uh, click, click apocalypse. That's a new one, right? Click apocalypse. Because I clicked the wrong button and I went totally into the wrong place and nearly shut off my own screen. So let's try not to do that again. All right. Thank you guys for being patient. If you were watching and you're like, what the heck just happened? I got a little confused there. All right. This time we're not going to close that one. We're going to stay here. And I wanted to go back to God of Gigs 360 and show you guys my post so that I can get quickly to these different podcasts that I'm recommending. So I mentioned, there we go. This will be so much easier. You guys won't see me bouncing around. Once again, if you guys want to see my screen on TikTok, I'll be on YouTube. You can find us. So God the Artist by Morgan McCarver. So Morgan McCarver has been on the show. She's just a breath of fresh air, a ceramics and stitchery artist. She has worked with so many amazing platforms, so many different types of ceramics. I never had a ceramics artist on the show before, but she had jumped off of podcasting for a little while of a podcast guesting, but then she jumped back in. So this is her show, Got the Artist podcast. I was, like I said, privileged to be on her show recently. I think it comes out on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not sure. She said it will come out pretty soon. But I would invite you guys to go check out God the Artist podcast because it's just so refreshing to see another artist who cares about creativity, who is sharing about how God interacts with us, God's creative side through pottery. This is her book. But I just want to make sure that you guys, oh, let me see. I don't think you guys are seeing what I'm sharing. Let's see. Share this tab instead. Sorry, guys. I was saying I didn't realize you didn't see this. So, God the Artist podcast. All right. So, definitely check that one out. I highly recommend that one just because I know Morgan is an amazing soul, not just for my episode. If you see my episode pop up, that's awesome. But go check out God the Artist podcast just to support and listen to another person in our artistic tribe. And there are some of the other shows that she has been on. So, you can find out about that at morganmccarver.com. But let me keep bouncing around a little bit. Let's find another one. And this is one that I'm gonna go down here because the profitable creative. Now, Christian Brim has been on our show as well. Christian Brim is the host of the Profitable Creative. And let's just talk about what he's talking about. This is why I love the concept of this podcast. Hey, creative, are you ready to discuss profits, the money, the ways to make it happen? The Profitable Creative podcast is for you, the creative, how you define it. Videographers, photographers, entrepreneurs, marketing agencies, you get it. CEO of Core Group and author Christian Brim interviews industry experts, creative entrepreneurs, and professionals alike who strive to be creative and make money at the same time. So you can see why I really love this one, not just because I was on the show, but because thank God for someone that's talking about the money side of being a creative, who's not afraid to share the strategies, the way that creative agencies and other solopreneurs are making money in this business without feeling like they are struggling and going from gig to gig. So highly, highly recommend. Again, I think I was on this show about maybe 6 months ago or so. That might no, actually it was a little earlier. It might still be here. It might be, let's see, February. Sorry for scrolling in front of you guys, but I think my episode was not too long ago. Um, Maybe it was. So yeah, I thought it was maybe in December or something like that, but nope, it was a little further back. So I'm not gonna make you look for that. But it was such a blessing to be on the show. And again, not just oh, there it is, October. So it was in October. But again, I'm not trying to just promote my episodes on these podcasts. I want you to know about these podcasts because they are good podcasts for creators, and I would love for you to connect with Christian. He's actually a member of God Gigs 360. So I love having people like him that I can support and share with the rest of you guys. All right. I look like I only have time for one more, so I can't get to all of them. All of them are inside the God and Gigs membership. But yeah, I'm gonna go to this last one because yeah, I think I'm gonna go to this one because it is the most recent one that I had a chance to be on, but it's also a beautiful podcast. And this one is called Gentle and Lowly. And Gentle and Lowly Co. is run by Addie Ott. So Addie, let me see if I can click on the actual link to get to the site itself. This is the actual, yeah, this is where all you can get to all the links of Gentle and Lowly. But I just love Addie's spirit, man. She is just, again, just a wonderful, wonderful, sweet person. And her podcast is not just for creators, but is definitely about living the life of a Christian, of a believer, and just being able to flow with the spirit, flow with whatever's going on. Our conversation was super cool talking about God and gigs. And so I just would love to support her because I love the heart behind her podcast. It is one of those things that you can just listen and you feel like you're at home. So definitely, once again, all of these podcasts I just mentioned are available. I will talk about more of them. I'll share some of their posts or share some of their links inside the comments in case you want to go find them. Let's make sure I don't hang up on myself again because last time I hung up because I clicked on the wrong thing. All right, there we go. So I didn't mess up this time. So go check out one of those podcasts. I would highly recommend all of them or any of them because they all are a blessing. And if you have some suggestions on podcasts that you feel are really beneficial for creators, Christian creators, faith focused creators, or just creators in general, please always feel free to share them either here, share them in the comments, or share them in the membership if you are in the membership, because I want to know who else is making great material. And again, I'm going to always stick up for podcasting being one of the best ways of learning, of growing. So I want to make sure that you guys get all of the possible benefits of subscribing to those shows. All right. We are almost at the end. Let's jump into our next segment, which is our consult and our fun question of the day. All right. Today, our question, and I would love to see some comments in the chat and in our comments afterward. Because we are recording this the day before Valentine's Day, I'm curious, what would a creator's Valentine's say? So you guys see, everybody talks about cards and flowers and so on. So everybody's got something. TikTok, I would love to get your comments on this too. So let's think about it for a second. A creator's Valentine. So that means you got to write, you know, the roses are red, violets are blue, right? You got to write to them and sell them something that would make them feel special, that would make them feel loved. So maybe this is even something we need to write to ourselves, y'all, as creators, because we need love. And sometimes it can feel like you're just out here by yourself, struggling. Maybe you are going single as a Pringle in terms of your romantic life, but as a creator, you can feel very alone and isolated as well. So let's just put this as a way to support each other, to help each other grow, to help each other feel good. And so I want to share one thing. I won't pull this up on screen, but it's inside our membership because this also was shared as a question inside our membership. We always do these little fun questions and polls in the membership app. And so when somebody asked this question, let's see, where is it? Where's the response? So somebody asked the same question about what would your Valentine's Day card for creatives say? And Anita said, this one's for the creator that stayed up way too late to finish something. The one who's rewritten it a dozen times, recorded it just one more time, or changed a detail no one else would notice. You're my people, and I appreciate you. See, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, look at that, how she just knew what a creator needed to hear. You had to change it one more time. You stayed up all night. And I appreciate you for being the kind of person who's okay with just doing it one more time, getting it a little better, and sometimes driving yourself crazy for the love of the art. So, y'all see how, like, that's what we're talking about. Like, the fact that she was able to quickly and just share what a creator's Valentine should look like or sound like. That's what I'm talking about. So, if you have ideas for this, I would love to see your ideas in the comments. Maybe again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can think of one. Though you don't have to rhyme roses are red, violets are blue. Don't have to do that. But just think about it for a second. I think my Valentine to our Guide and Gigs group and our creators would be how much I appreciate your faithfulness, how much I appreciate you sticking with it, how much I appreciate you showing up for live streams like this and watching on replay, how much I appreciate the fact that you support your community, that you reach out to other people inside the community, that you don't wait for me to just always be the voice, that you guys actually have your prayer chat. I would love, yes, that's one place. Talk about the love of God. That's a place where love is always evident in the prayer chat of God and Gigs 360, our membership. So I want to send out a Valentine to y'all for the way you support each other. It's beautiful. I'm thankful for it. God and Gifts would not be a community without the creators that are willing to connect beyond just the surface area. So if you are watching on TikTok, once again, I want to make sure I send a shout out to you as well, because you are blessing me even right now by watching this live where I wasn't even sure I should keep going live on TikTok, but this is now helping me to see, hey, there's folks out there, creators like you, who maybe are not connected on YouTube or LinkedIn, but we're going to make sure that you are part of our community as well. So a Valentine to you as well for anybody that's watching us on these other platforms. So that is our consult. Once again, I'll be checking the posts later on just to see who shares their Valentine. Or maybe you have like a great Valentine's project that would be cool. So if you got a Valentine's Day project, maybe you did a song, love song, something that kind of goes along with Valentine's Day, feel free to post that as well underneath this particular live stream because we can go kind of get some love vibes. We can go share it, go check out some independent creators and support you guys. So that would be super cool as well to go ahead and jump in that way. All right. So that is our consult. Once again, for our YouTube, I'm sorry, for our TikTok viewers, if you want to see my screen, you got to jump over there to YouTube. I don't think we have it. I think right at this point in the bio, I have the membership listed, which I would love for you to join the membership as well. But you can always join us on YouTube by typing in God and Gigs, GODANDGIGS. Go check out God and Gigs on YouTube, and then you can find us there as well. Okay, so that was our consult. And we have one last little thing to share, and that would be our prescriptions. So, one more time, we'll stop this and we'll play our stinger to get to the last segment of our creator checkup. All right, you guys. So, prescriptions are always the end of a checkup, right? You say, okay, what do I do next? What do I need to take next? I need to go to Walgreens. I need to go to CVS. I need to pick up my prescription so that I can stay healthy. And we want you to be healthy as a creator. So that's why we always end it with the prescription. So, what is our prescription for today? Well, it's pretty simple. And I usually go end it with this unless there's something special coming up. It is to join the Creator Resource Center. Creator Resource Center is where you get all the replays. Now, I think, yeah, we put up the replay for our January workshop. Our February workshop is not yet determined. I have a couple of ideas for people, but we haven't locked it down yet. But we will have a workshop in February. Then we will also have our TMI session in February, which will be open to all of our members. And we will also, of course, have our podcast episodes that are always and our coaching, I should say, our coaching call. Now, our coaching call is just for gold. Every once in a while, we make it an open house, which we might do, but our open house is more kind of like the TMI sessions on Saturdays. So our next TMI session will probably be the last Saturday of the month. Okay, so the Creators Resource Center is where you get access to all of our recorded information and all the workshops, even if you didn't get a chance to go. And you get access to each one free of charge, where you don't have to pay anything extra to get into those creator workshops. All right. So that is our prescription for today. You can go to godandgigs.com/CRC. Or if you don't remember that, just go to godandgigs.com/membership. Go to godandgigs.com/membership. And that is how you get in to the membership to find out what's available for you. All right, my friends, this has been a great call. Great call. I'm going to go ahead and end it a little bit early, most likely, although it looks like we might have a couple of friends joining us at the end. So I never like to hang up on everybody, but we usually go from 1 to 2 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time on Friday. So that's when we usually go. So if things are kind of wrapping up a little early, usually it's because I just want to make sure I give people their time back. And I don't want to say, oh, it has to be ending right at 2. If there's some commentary, some people sharing, I'll always be glad to jump in and share with them. So don't want to hold you guys up, but also don't want to keep things going for no reason if we finish the presentation. All right. TikTok, thank you for joining me today. Everyone that joined us on replay, thank you for joining me. Hope that our comment on Bad Bunny helped you figure that out and feel less kind of like you're stuck in this kind of rut of listening to someone else's creative work. Instead, get out there and make your own impact. Okay, so that's really the moral of today's lesson is don't think that you don't have impact as an artist whenever you make something that is powerful, relevant, and people pay attention to. It's the way for you to make an impact on so many other people in the right way. All right, my friends, God bless you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, Continue to become the creator that you were created to be. God bless. And we'll see you next time on Tuesday for our episode and next Friday for our creator checkup.